Juwan, when we last spoke a few years ago, you're getting ready for the NFL draft. You go undrafted. I imagine you have a moment where you're going, am I going to make it? I mean, do you have that moment, or were you always just so confident that no matter what happens, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to make it? Or were there moments where you went, I don't know here?
Jeff, I remember that Zoom meeting too. I remember I had like a weight vest on in the car. I just came from a workout. 2020 when COVID was happening, it was crazy. Yeah, I mean, I was very optimistic going into that draft week. Talking to teams, thinking I'm going to get drafted. And sitting there and not getting a call, getting a few calls from teams saying like, "How you doing?" Not the call you want, but just after the draft, just very, very discouraged. But I had a huge, huge chip on my shoulder, and so going into that camp, obviously didn't go as planned. I was cut, but I was brought back on the practice squad. I was just like really motivated, man. It's just like really, really motivated. And there was times where I'm just like, man, I don't know if this football thing is cut out for me. Just because I've always wanted so much out of myself. And so, not making the team my rookie year, but still being on the team was kind of like, dang, like I really need to do something about it. So, through the course of the end of the year of that year, I got signed onto the squad. Felt good, but I really felt like at that time I was having fun, like really having fun with it, really feeling like I could really put set my grounds in this NFL league. So yeah, the first year was tough. Going into the draft was tough, but I'm getting the hang of it now. So
Yeah. And so when you're in that moment going, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, and you get cut out of the gate, you get undrafted, you then get cut by the Saints.
mm-hmm.
Do you, how low is it for you? I mean, and who are you calling to kind of help get you through it? You calling home? You calling friends that have gone through it? Or are you just like in a hole? Like what's kind of?
Yeah. It's definitely tough. You definitely want to talk to people who are there, people who have been in the league, such as my brother or people on the team. Because people on the team, they are there. They're tangible. They're people that you could be a sponge from. But yeah, man, those are tough times. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like those are times I'm just like, bro, this is just not it for me. But Jeff, I have a strong faith, man, and I think having faith in Jesus was kind of like the biggest thing for me because I feel like if I won't be a football player for long, but I'll always be I'll always be a person at the end of the day, and so just thinking of something higher than I am and doing the will for Him and not for myself is kind of the biggest thing for me, and knowing that I can't hold my identity in just being a football player, so I have to be an inspiration to other people.
Yeah. And so do you have another moment where you're approached about transitioning from wide receiver to tight end last year? I imagine it was kind of around this time or a year ago. So do you have that other thing going, wait a minute, I'm a wide receiver, or will you go, no, I'm a tight end. Cool. Let's go.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of was lingering once I got there. Honestly, before the draft, I mean, there were teams like the Cardinals hit me up saying that they wanted to draft me as a tight end. There was Chicago before talking about they wanted to have me as a tight end. So there were teams out there already putting in their brain that they wanted me as a tight end, and I opened up to the idea. And so I went to the Saints. There was no doubt about it. They were going to have me at wide receiver. And so I got there and I was like 235. So they're like, man, you're kind of big for a receiver. You need to stop eating. But at the end of the day, when you're in New Orleans, there's no such thing as not eating or stop eating. So, I kind of kept eating. And next thing you know, I'm 240. And it's like, we're probably going to have to move you soon. So I went through the whole year, rookie year. And the next off season, I got the call from our quarterbacks coach. And he was like, yeah, man, we're going to move you to tight end. And honestly, from there, a switch turned on for me. And so I've never had more fun with this game since making that move. And it's been the best thing for me.
Yeah. And so do you get, essentially you say you get that call from the quarterback coach. I would think you get it from Sean Payton or the general manager,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
even the tight end coach,
yeah, yeah.
and the wide receiver coach, not the quarterback coach.
Definitely. Well, at the time, our wide receiver, well, he was our wide receiver coach, but we made a few changes, and he was in our quarterbacks coach, and he was the closest. I was the closest with him than
Okay.
any of the coaches. So I think I don't know why people were a little hesitant to tell me, but I think he was most comfortable telling me the news, and honestly, it was great news, and he was great telling me. He was great for explaining the idea and where they were heading, and from there, um, I think not much has changed. I think my mindset has been even more of going and get it, wanting to do so much more this season. Last season was great, but I know there's so much more that I could do, and I know I could be one of the best tight ends in the league this year. I'm a firm believer in that, and honestly, if I just keep, doing what I need to do, having fun, I can easily be that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it pays off right away. I mean, you have 4 touchdowns last year, and one comes in that first game.
Mm-hmm.
When you catch that touchdown, your first career touchdown, and you're a tight end, probably not the
Yeah.
way you envisioned it. You're thinking you're going to be a receiver in the league, perhaps.
July.
What is that moment like? I imagine in that moment, you're thinking back to those low points where you've been cut, or you don't know if you're going to make it, or if this is, what's cut out for you. Do you have those moments in the middle of this game, or what's kind of going through your mind when you make that first touchdown career
Oh
catch?
man. Honestly, at first, just looking at it, I was just playing ball. Honestly, like I wasn't really thinking about much. I was honestly just worried about getting the win. To be honest with you,
Okay.
It's our first game, so I'm not really thinking about much. And honestly, I caught another one in the game. Just like, all right, like we're doing our thing today. Like, all right, we just, this is how the year's gonna look like. But honestly, like that night, just looking back, like man, like I've went through a lot, and this is where I am. So it shows a lot of perseverance. It shows a lot of, working from a small town. It just brings up a lot of stuff. Cause coming from a small town like Glassboro, and going to the NFL and making plays and things like that. That's what any small town kid's dreams would be. Just doing things like that. So yeah, those emotions, came up, and then that the next couple of days they have to go away because we have another game. So
Right.
It was definitely surreal, but it was definitely humbling to know that you just can't let the circumstances dictate your whole life. You definitely don't want to do that. So just having circumstances motivate you instead of bring you down is kind of what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm sure when you're trying to crack into this and stick somewhere, obviously like New Orleans, you're going, I'll be the punter. I'll be the kicker. I don't care. I'll be the long snapper. I just want to be on the team. And, you're doing whatever you can to make that team and make yourself valuable. And then so you end up at tight end. And how comfortable do you feel? Because you go back to thinking about growing up in Glassboro in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, you're the best high school wide receiver at one point.
Right.
And so, how tough has the transition been to being a tight end at that position?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. Tight end is probably one of the toughest positions in the sport. Just simply because, you're pass blocking, you're run blocking, you're trying to know the scheme of the defense and the defensive line, linebackers, safeties, corners. You're also running routes, catching passes. So it's a lot more that went into tight end than I knew or anticipated. But it made my eyes open up a little bit more to the game. And so I've never watched so much film in my life. Like it's the craziest thing. Like I'm watching so much film, and I'm learning so much. And I know last year it was very hard for me to understand a run scheme, but this year it's so much better, so much easier. Just knowing what I need to do, knowing information. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot of information you gotta, attain, but it's been so beneficial.
And you watching tape, not only I assume of your stuff, maybe your practice stuff and things like that, but are you watching tape of like Rob Gronkowski, who you would see twice a year with the Bucks? Were you watching Gronk at all? Just because, he's one of the, obviously the greatest tight ends ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I spent the early part of my off season, mid of the off season, just watching guys who've done great things. Like I've, watched Shannon Sharp. He's on, TV and stuff. So I was like, man, Shannon Sharp was really he was really nice. Watch guys like Gronk, watch guys like Darren Waller, watch guys like Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson. You watch so many guys, even watch Jason Witten, Tony Gonzalez. I watched a large part of my all season watching Tony Gonzalez because he's in Atlanta, but two is just he was just such a smooth guy, and he was really good, at the position. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because you just think going like, all right, well, I know how to play receiver. I just need a shot. Now you're learning a whole new position. It's way faster in the NFL. And you're probably also coming from a small town in New Jersey going, all right, I'm in New Orleans. I have a legendary quarterback that maybe throwing some passes to me. And you start with Drew Brees and, Sean Payton's your head coach at the time. Do you have any moments where you're going like, this is nuts? I mean, where I come from to all of a sudden be, on one of the top franchises in football with one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was surreal, and it definitely, you definitely grew up fast, being in the league, you see people who you play with, in Madden, but guys like Drew, I mean, he's been playing as long as I've been alive, really. A large part I've been alive, and just seeing him not only as a player, but as a teammate, as a leader, as a person, as a father, as a friend. He's probably one of the most incredible people I've met. Down to earth, just very, very intentional with his relationships, with his conversations. That's somebody that I emulated coming into the league, and definitely his last days in the league. He just worked so hard. And so one story about him is that I came in after him during a workout that, that was free. It was under our own leisure. And I was finished my workout and he was still there. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to stay for another 20 minutes. And he was still working out. And I was just like, I want to keep working like him. I want to be like him. And so just being with guys like him, Malcolm Jenkins, Emmanuel Sanders, Mike Thomas, Jared Cook, just so many different guys who are just big names who will linger throughout the whole league for the rest of, a long time. Just being around those guys, it's pretty humbling.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because, you think that some of the best guys in all these sports are just guys that are just freaking nature athletes. And yes, many of them are, but I still always find the best of the best always seem to be the guys that work the hardest. And, you talk about Drew Brees, you talk about Malcolm. I always go the best of the best. They have that naturally born talent. They have that ability, but they're still the hardest workers. And right. I feel like maybe really in any profession, the hardest workers always, do the best.
Right. I mean, and yeah, it's true. I mean, you see guys like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, for example. I mean, he's notably one of the hardest workers that ever, played, sports. And so even LeBron James, guys like that were just workers. And when you want to get to that level, you gotta be like that. You gotta play like that. So you gotta work hard.
Yeah. And so obviously the last couple of years as you're coming into the league, you're going through your own transition, and now the Saints are going through a transition. Drew Brees is gone, Sean Payton's gone, and stuff like that. And so how difficult is it to balance all that for yourself as you're trying to learn tight end and also balance really a new look New Orleans Saints team?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be changes. I mean, you're going to be changes in coaches, changes in quarterbacks, changes of team. There's always going to be some sort of change. But the one thing I feel like I do best with is handling what I can control, and that's myself. I mean, the time I start worried about external things and things like that, I'm not going to be able to perform. I need to perform with the changes or going along with the change. So just being more so focused on what I can control is the best thing, the only thing I can really do.
So you don't worry about, okay, well, who's the quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Jameis? Is it going to be Dalton? Is it going to be Taysom Hill? You just go, whoever's throwing me that ball, I'm going to catch the ball.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And that's how it is. I mean, we had a prime example of the last year where we had an influx of, QBs coming. Like, so with one game, James was starting, he got hurt, and then there was Trevor Simeon, so he was playing, and then Taysom was playing, and Ian Book was playing. So it was just so many different people, but someone has to throw the ball and someone has to catch the ball. That's just how the name of the game is. So you just got to be ready, and when the ball's in the air, you got to make the play.
Yeah, and Dennis Allen, he's been a coordinator for a long time. He's interviewed for a lot of head coaching jobs. What have you seen from him? Is it feel like Sean Payton 2.0, or is he putting his own stamp on things?
Yeah. The one thing about DA he's been a great job doing is just keeping everything consistent and not doing too much, but doing enough that has his own little flavor to it. We still got a lot of familiar personnel in the building. Really, the schemes haven't changed, but he's just added his own flavor to it. DA is more of a guy who is not a rowdy guy, but he does get you riled up for a game, or practice rather. But he's going to teach you. He's very teachable, but he's a guy that's going to be very personable too. So he's been really good with us so far. He's been good for us, been good for the team, been good for the atmosphere, and so it's been really good being with him there, this OTA and mini camp. So I'm excited to see, the year that he has ahead of him.
Speaking of getting guys riled up, I saw Jameis Winston I guess he was doing some player only workouts recently. He gave like a great speech in the huddle. Were you a part of those workouts with him, or did you even see the video?
Yeah. So, yeah, I was there. We took a little trip out to Miami, enjoyed some weather there, enjoyed some workouts with him. He did a great job gathering guys together to, just get a workout in, catch balls, build chemistry, hang out, having the wives with us. So, it was a great time for some team bonding. I thought it was great. We spent, a couple of days out there just, building chemistry. And I think that was the best thing that we could do heading into camp next week. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for him. I know he has a lot he wants to do this year after, getting hurt last year. So I know he's really eager and really excited to get out there and do his thing. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah. And so many guys talk about, hey, this time of the year is really important. You build wins now. What does that exactly mean? I mean, so you're going to Miami with Jameis Winston and some other teammates, and you're doing some bonding and working out and stuff like that. Yeah. Why does this time make you guys great in December or in January? What is it about this time?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I'd say is that I don't think, if you want to win a game on Sunday, you don't win it on Sunday. You win it, on the off days, like the Mondays and the Tuesdays. You win it, through the preparation through the week. And I know it sounds like pretty, boring and cliche, but that's just what it is. I mean, if you don't get those things right, then Sunday you have no chance. It's just like now, us building chemistry, us hanging out, us, getting our timing down now is going to help us for camp, and that confidence during camp is going to help during the season. So I think it's more repetition of knowing that, where somebody's going to be at the right time, what he does is going to be right. And so just really building repetition, confidence, and, chemistry is the biggest thing. And I thought Jameis is doing a great job with that, even having us out in Miami, but even times before, always taking the time to, really get us all together to do some things.
Were you surprised that video of him talking to you guys in the huddle went viral and people were all, caught up in it? Or are you just going like, that's just the way it is. That's just Jameis. I mean, that's just the way he is.
Well, I think anything Jameis does is going to go viral.
Okay.
It's just what it is. It is what it is. But Jameis, that's just how he is, though. I mean, a guy that's going to, one, get you amped, but that's a guy that's just going to tell the truth, and he's just being his genuine self. Him just motivating us, knowing that, we're here to win something. We're not here to, play for the running of the playoffs. Like, that's just not how he rolls. It's definitely not how I roll. I mean, it's either championship or bust for us. Like, that's just how, we think. And so definitely going into the year with our mindset to win a Super Bowl. We're not here to just make it to the playoffs or win a division. Yes, those are the steps to getting a championship, but, it's the vision It's playoffs, it's championship. That's what we're here to do.
It didn't make things easier for you guys having Tom Brady unretire, huh?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Tom is great. I mean, that's always the thing. He's one of the greatest of all time, and you can't even take that away from him. But you always have to beat him to get there. You always got to beat one of the best to get to the championship or win the championship. So, we're ready for him this year, as we are to every year, and we got our eyes set to do some big things this year.
Yeah, and how's your work ethic? Has it changed at all watching? You talk about Drew Brees, you talk about Winston, you talk about other guys, seeing them in the weight room. Has your work ethic, have you upped it a notch even now that you're in the league, going at some point before, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but have you upped it, or are you still going, I'm still that hungry guy that I've always been?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I were to ask people from my hometown, people in college, I feel like I've always been one of the hardest workers in the building. That's just how my mindset is. I'm not really like the most talented guy, but I know if I'm working hard enough, I'll find something I get better at, and that's going to be better than my opponent. And so these days, in terms of getting in the NFL, it's not more so working harder, it's more of working smarter. And so, not killing myself, more so it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing a lot of the time. So, like I said about watching that film, film has been something that's been so good to me. Flexibility, that's also work, but it's not also about the strain and beating up on your body. So there's so many more things to work than just working out and lifting.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for you. I mean, coming out of Oregon, I remember before that draft, you were projected as a late round pick. You don't know what may happen here. And then you go undrafted, and then bam, you land in what's been a perfect spot for you as you're, making things happen, and hopefully bigger things to come this year after 4 touchdowns last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited. I mean, like I said, I'm working. So I know individual success comes, but it means a whole lot better when you got, a championship on your finger. So I'm really excited to see what we can do this year so we could make those things happen, have a parade in New Orleans.
Yeah, and get some gumbo, head up down the French Quarter, I get it.
No lie.
I get it. Hit up Dickie Brennan's, the whole thing.
Right.
Well, thanks so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it.
No doubt, man. Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Joe.